Hello, good people, and welcome back to Unit 7 on Consumerism. This is part 2 of Social Media and Materialism. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so let's talk about the impact of social media, especially with regards to consumers. All right, so when you decide to purchase a good or a service, there is a strong chance that you have been influenced in some way, shape, or form, at least to some degree. It doesn't have to be like super influential, but you have been influenced at some point by your friends, your family, and probably some celebs, some famous people. If you're like, I don't pay attention to celebrities, they don't influence me. Really? Why do you purchase the makeup that you do? Why did you buy a Supreme shirt that is $150? It literally just says Supreme on it, okay? Why do you dress the way that you do? Why do you speak the way that you do? Why do you choose this particular type of music? Is it because your other artists that you listen to endorse these other people? So you got to think critically about how social media and how about other people decide to influence you. All right, so they're all influencers in some way, shape, or form, regardless of if you think it's true or not. It is. All right, if you think back to like what lingo you use and what like catchphrases you say, there's a strong chance that someone else gave that to you and you just snatched it from them, or you've been around them a long time, so you start talking like them. Okay. So another thing to consider is reviews. We'll talk about this a little bit more in another lesson in more depth, but reviews, either good or bad, can either like seriously help a business or seriously hurt it. All right, so a couple businesses that are like really good and fantastic, like infomercials and stuff like that, like OxyClean was not really a big deal until like Billy Mays went on and like became the spokesperson for that. Billy Mays was like the older guy with the brown hair and brown beard that used to be like whatever. He was the oxy person. He was the OxyClean spokesperson. Whew. All right, and so eventually, when he is like leaving good reviews, eventually that stuff from the infomercials is in Food Line. People can buy it now. It's in Walmart. People can buy it if they want. A bad review of a business can shut a business down if it's from an important enough person. So going viral can help or seriously hurt a business. If you see like United Airlines got in a lot of trouble a few years ago because there was a man who was he was a little heavier, and the airline asked him to purchase 2 seats instead of 1 because he was a larger individual. And when he would not, because he was not aware of that policy until he boarded the plane, they literally drug him off of the airplane, drug him off of the aircraft. So they got in a lot of trouble for that. If people video things and review, like even city officials, if they have photos of you or like video of you saying terrible things or doing terrible things or associating with unsavory people, that can seriously hurt a business. It can also hurt someone's reputation. So things to consider for that. All right, so as far as advertisements go, advertisements are very strategic. They are very well placed. They are pointed. All right, and they are targeted. So when companies decide that they need more revenue, they need more money, they're like not doing so hot, they start advertising. Okay, so if people aren't coming to them as normally or as frequently as they would in another, like in a typical setting, they're going to start advertising. They're going to start changing business plans up. They're going to start redoing things, redoing logos, redoing insides of restaurants, that sort of thing. They're also going to buy space. All right, so they could buy space in a magazine or another print media. They can buy airtime on the radio. They can buy airtime on podcasts, on like Apple Music, on Spotify, YouTube Music, whatever it is. Those like 5 or 6 seconds before you can watch a YouTube video and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to hear this song. I do not want to see this ad. You have to wait to skip it. Okay, so they buy space in order to optimize revenue. All right, so a business is worried about whether or not they're making a profit, okay? And their revenue, the money they have coming in, plus their stock value, they're both intertwined. You can't have Amazon, like, you can't say that Amazon has a lot of stock. Like, Amazon shares are worth like $3,300 a piece right now. The reason that they're so valuable is because people are using Amazon. The more people buy things from Amazon online, the more that stock value goes up. So people are like, businesses are worried about multiple things, all right? They target audiences for real. How are we going to sell vans to people? How are we going to sell this shirt to people? How are we going to sell this car? They are not going after the same people. All right. So if you want to sell life insurance, like that's a product. If you want to sell life insurance, you're going to target old people if they don't already have life insurance. You're going to stress people that they need to buy it young. So who you have endorsing that, or like when you show ads or something like that, or where you put it is very important. They'll also track your click history. They'll track it with what are things called cookies, and they'll use that to custom make your ads. So, for example, the other day I'm cheap, all right. I would like to have bougie taste on a non-bougie budget, and it's very sad. So I was trying to find me some Vans that were not expensive the other day, and I looked it up on Amazon, and then lo and behold, what should pop up on my Facebook feed on the side but ad for Vans. And I was like, you're out here watching me. Okay, so they make sure that they are target, like custom made to you. If you have looked up a specific shirt or a specific clothing item, that's going to pop up on your ads. All right, because of your tracking history. All right, you also are influenced just by the straight volume and amount of ads that you see in a day. Okay. And you have constant exposure to advertisements. Constant. All right. They compete for your attention, and ultimately they're competing for your money. All right, now let's get into materialism. So what the heck is it? Buying or wanting a good or service that give you increased socioeconomic status. You're attaching your worth as a person to your stuff rather than like your spirit. Okay. So how do we even get here to this point where we're like, if I don't have an iPhone and a North Face backpack, and Vans and Air Force Ones and this shirt and that scrunchie and this water bottle, by the time I'm in high school, I am not good enough. Okay, that is 100% not the truth. But ultimately, we're responsible for looking at each other and be like, oh my gosh, you don't have this water bottle, you're less than. That's not true. Okay, so how do we even get here? Listen, materialism has been around since the dawn of time. The only reason that we have like lawns and we feel like lawns are a sign of wealth is because like the French monarchy back in the 16 and 1700s was like, look how rich I am. I can have like all this space that's just grass and nothing else. I can waste all this space with just grass because I am the king of France. That's why we have lawns. Like that's how it started, as like a flex on other people for being rich. So that's that. More land means more power and influence. And as land gets more scarce and people have less land to go around, now instead of showing wealth through how much land you own, you can show your wealth through your fancy materials, how many dresses your wife owns, how many carriages you have, if we're talking about like the 1800s. And nowadays, how many mansions do you have? How much stock do you have in these companies? How many Bentleys are you able to afford? Can you have a live-in butler in your house or whatever? Just do you have enough space to have a game room? Just random things that we think are success that really aren't. So there was a serious increase in materialism here in the United States during the 1980s. People were very materialistic. Madonna even put out an album called Material Girl. She says, I'm living in a material world and I'm a material girl. All right, so there was continued emphasis on the American dream of homeownership, having a car, having a nice house, being in a good neighborhood, having 2 kids, having all this random stuff filling up your house. Here's Madonna and her little material girl thing. You don't have to purchase a whole bunch of goods and services to have a nice life, okay? But companies that are competing for profit are going to make you try and think that. All right, so how do we see materialism in society? Influencers impact wants rather than needs, okay? You need food, water, shelter, a place to raise youngins, okay? That's it. You don't need that absurd like lip balm that they're trying to sell you. You don't need 6 pairs of shoes. You don't need a Gucci belt. You're like, yes, I do. No, you don't. You don't need a Gucci belt in order to live, okay? Here's our train whistle. Okay, so you also have to think about familiarity and fame of brands. People buy things from brands because they're famous, not because they're high quality, all right? So people buy, like, y'all have to realize, like, people have been buying Louis Vuitton bags for a long time. They work just as well as another bag. Like, your Bentley and your like 99 Corolla are still going to get you from point A to point B. You're still going to drive from the store to the house. It just depends on how fancy you want to be driving from the store to the house. So we see materialism as in like, we think that we've made it if we have this amount of brands. We think that having this purse is going to make me feel so much better. And you buy the purse and you're like, all right, I'm bored. I want something else. Okay? So you have to think on, what do you see as higher class, or what do you buy or own if you've made it? Okay? So that is different to everybody, but there are a set of standards that we have as a society that we've all agreed on. Like, if you have a house, if you have a car, if you have a job, you're set and you've made it. Okay? We made it. All right, and that's part 2.